Be the one they fear losing, not because of love, but because without you, they go back to ordinary. Joe Dispenza. There's a kind of emptiness that doesn't feel like pain at first. It feels like silence, like walking into a room and realizing no one even noticed you left. You look around and see people talking, laughing, scrolling, and you're right there among them. But it's like you don't really exist. Not because they hate you, but because somewhere along the way, you made yourself so convenient, so accommodating, so predictable, they forgot you could disappear. Most people won't say it out loud, but this is the real reason you're tired. It's not just the job, not just the relationships, it's the deep, aching exhaustion of constantly being there for others and never truly being seen. You've always been the one who adjusts, the one who makes space, the one who doesn't ask for too much. You've trained yourself to be easy to love, hoping that in return, someone would be afraid to lose you. But they're not, because no one fears losing what feels guaranteed. The hard truth is, they're not scared to lose you because you've never shown them what it means to fully have you. You've always been available, always understanding, always kind. And behind that kindness, there's a quiet resentment growing. Not towards them, towards yourself. Because some part of you knows you traded your presence for approval. You gave pieces of yourself away for safety. And now, there's almost nothing left to give. The ones we're most afraid to lose are never the most perfect, never the most agreeable. They're the ones who are fully there, fully themselves, with flaws, boundaries, depth. They're not performing. They're not begging to be chosen. They've already chosen themselves. That's what makes them magnetic. That's what makes them irreplaceable. So ask yourself this: are you really afraid of being alone? Or are you afraid that if you stopped performing, no one would stay? That if you said what you really think, drew the line, stopped being convenient, you'd watch people walk away? And the truth is, some will. But others, the ones who can actually see you, they'll show up. Because you finally did. And this is the beginning. The moment where you stop shrinking to be accepted and start expanding to be real. You don't need to become someone else. You need to become someone honest. That's the person they remember. That's the person they're afraid to lose. Not because you fit into their lives perfectly, but because you show up in a way no one else dares to. Most people spend their whole lives trying to be valuable in ways that are completely hollow. They chase acceptance, praise, validation, thinking these things will make them irreplaceable. But what actually happens is the opposite. The more you try to be good enough, the more replaceable you become. Because you're no longer living from your truth, you're living from a strategy, and people can feel that. Even if they don't consciously realize it, they know when you're acting out of fear, not power. The world is full of people pretending to be what others want, smiling when they want to scream, agreeing when they're dying to say no, saying, "I'm fine," with a face that's clearly exhausted. That's not strength, that's survival. And survival doesn't make you unforgettable. It makes you invisible. Most of what we're taught about connection is based on illusion. Be useful. Be liked. Don't cause trouble. Be the easy one. Be the nice one. Stay small enough to fit into other people's expectations. But the more you do that, the less they actually see you. And over time, you start disappearing not only from their awareness, but from your own life. You've probably read the books, tried the affirmations, maybe even went to therapy, and yet deep down, something still feels stuck. Because those things often try to fix the surface, your behavior, your mindset, your goals, without addressing the core. And the core is this: you don't become someone they fear to lose by improving yourself. You become that person by revealing yourself, fully, honestly, without apology. The lie of self-improvement is that it keeps you chasing. If you just heal more, learn more, change more, maybe then they'll value you. But here's the trap. The version of you they're supposed to value doesn't even exist yet. You're constantly in the process of becoming worthy, so no one ever gets the chance to meet the real you, including you. The truth? You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were never meant to be palatable. You were meant to be whole. And wholeness includes your rage, your sadness, your shadows, your contradictions. The parts you were told to hide, those are the exact parts that make people stop, listen, and stay. So many people are dying for authenticity, but terrified to live it themselves. They want others to be real while they keep wearing masks. But here's the paradox. The only way to attract real connection is to be willing to lose the fake ones. The only way to become someone others fear to lose is to stop fearing the loss of people who never truly saw you. And if any part of you just felt seen, subscribe to the channel, not because I asked, but because you're done pretending. And if you're ready for deeper conversations, join the Telegram. That's where we say the things most people aren't ready to hear. There are people whose absence is felt for years, even decades after they're gone. Something about them lingers. Not because they were perfect, not because they made everyone happy, but because they carried something most people spend their whole lives avoiding: truth, depth, presence. They weren't trying to be liked. They were trying to be real. And that's what made them unforgettable. Think about Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain, Freddie Mercury, Chester Bennington. When they died, the world didn't just lose celebrities, it lost voices that spoke to people's insides. They didn't live safe lives, they lived exposed lives. Raw, complicated, messy. And that's exactly why people still grieve them. Because when someone dares to be fully alive, fully human, we see ourselves in them. And when they're gone, it feels like something in us disappears too. What made these people so magnetic wasn't talent alone. Millions have talent, but only a few have the courage to show who they are beneath the performance. These people gave more than entertainment. They gave us access to parts of ourselves we usually silence. Their art, their words, their energy, it made people feel less alone. That's a different kind of impact. That's soul-level presence. And the common thread among all of them? They carried their pain in the open. They didn't mask it behind perfection. They didn't pretend to have it all figured out. They spoke from the wound, not just the wisdom. And that gave others permission to feel their own pain without shame. They weren't strong because they hid their darkness. They were strong because they stopped pretending it wasn't there. But let's go deeper. It's not just famous people. You've probably met someone in your life, a teacher, a mentor, a friend, whose energy stayed with you long after the relationship ended. Not because they said all the right things, but because they were fully there. When they looked at you, they saw you. When they listened, they weren't just waiting to respond. They were present. That kind of presence is rare. And when it's gone, people feel it like a missing limb. So here's the truth most don't want to admit. Being someone others fear to lose has nothing to do with being agreeable. It has everything to do with being real, fully, without edit, without filter, without softening yourself to keep others comfortable. The people we cling to are the ones who make us feel something, who challenge us, who hold up a mirror without judgment. That's who stays burned into memory. Most live as echoes, repeating what they're told, performing what's expected, suppressing what's true. But the ones we remember, they were the voice. Not because they were louder, but because they were undeniable. They spoke from somewhere deeper, somewhere raw. And in a world full of copies, the original always leaves the strongest imprint. There's a pattern among those who are truly unforgettable, a certain quality that goes beyond charm, beyond looks, beyond talent. It's not about how much they achieve or how many people know their name. It's about how they exist in a room, how they carry themselves, how they look at you like they see right through the mask. And underneath that, there's something even deeper, a set of traits that make them not just memorable, but irreplaceable. The first is presence, real presence. When they speak to you, you feel like you're the only person in the world. They're not distracted, not performing, not scanning for approval. Their attention is full, and it makes you feel like you matter. That kind of presence is rare because it requires a person to be anchored in themselves, not in the reactions of others. Second, they are unapologetically honest, not rude, not brutal, but clear. They say what they mean. They don't sugarcoat to be liked, and they don't lie to avoid discomfort. That kind of truth creates trust. And when someone always tells you the truth, even when it's hard, you begin to fear losing them because you know you'll never find that kind of honesty again. Third, they have depth. They're not afraid of darkness, theirs or yours. You can talk to them about the things most people avoid, and they don't flinch. They don't try to fix you. They don't give empty advice. They just hold space because they've been there. And that kind of soul-level recognition is something you never forget. Fourth, they're vulnerable. They don't hide behind pride or image. They let you see their fears, their doubts, their broken parts. And strangely, instead of making them weak, it makes them strong. Because vulnerability isn't about falling apart. It's about being brave enough to stop pretending. Fifth, they don't chase. They have internal value. They know their worth isn't based on how others treat them. That doesn't make them arrogant. It makes them calm. They don't beg for connection. They allow it. And that's exactly why people lean in, because they don't feel manipulated or controlled. Sixth, they set boundaries. You can't walk all over them. They'll give you love, presence, support, but not at the expense of themselves. And when someone has that level of self-respect, it forces you to respect them too. You know they won't tolerate being mistreated, and that makes their closeness feel like a privilege. Seventh, they care deeply, but not in a needy way. Their care comes from overflow, not emptiness. They give because they want to, not because they're afraid to lose you. And that kind of love, the one without hooks or expectations, it feels rare, even sacred. Eighth, they accept the parts of you that others reject. They don't shame your flaws. They don't flinch at your wounds. They don't demand you be lighter, happier, easier. They meet you where you are and still choose to stay. Ninth, they carry humor and lightness, even in darkness. Not the kind of humor that hides pain, but the kind that makes room for it. They know how to laugh without dismissing the weight of life. And that balance makes them grounding, human, safe. And 10th, they're not afraid to walk away. That's the paradox. The ones we fear to lose the most are usually the ones who are ready to leave the moment they're no longer respected. They don't cling. They don't fight to prove their value. They simply live in a way that speaks for itself. And that silence, that unshakable self-worth, is louder than any words. None of those 10 traits are born. Every single one of them is built. They're not genetic gifts. They're the result of pain, choice, and inner work. Because to be someone others fear to lose, you first have to become someone you no longer abandon. That journey doesn't start with motivation. It starts with discomfort, with the kind of honesty that strips away everything you've used to protect yourself from your own truth. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the part of you that holds everything you've disowned: your anger, your jealousy, your sadness, your selfishness. Not because these things are bad, but because at some point you learned they're unacceptable. So you buried them, covered them in performance, and called it personality. But the shadow doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It starts to run your life from behind the curtain, quietly sabotaging your relationships, your confidence, your sense of identity, all in an effort to protect you from being seen too clearly. Most people live like that forever, trapped in a loop of self-editing, always adjusting, always managing perception. But true presence, the kind that makes others remember you, doesn't come from perfection. It comes from wholeness, from owning every part of yourself, even the messy ones, especially the messy ones, because those are the parts that make you real. And realness is magnetic in a world addicted to masks. Integrating your shadow doesn't mean acting out your worst impulses. It means making space for the parts of you that never got a voice. Sitting with your rage without justifying it. Acknowledging your fear without judging it. Letting yourself be complicated without trying to simplify it for others. That's where your power lives, not in how polished you are, but in how much truth you can hold without flinching. Freud spoke of unconscious drives, the buried wounds that shape our behavior. We repeat what we don't repair. We attract what reflects our unresolved pain. And until we bring it to the surface, we keep playing roles that were written by someone else. The caretaker, the pleaser, the achiever. But none of these identities make you unforgettable. They make you functional. And being functional is not the same as being alive. To stop being replaceable, you have to stop replacing your truth with performance. That means becoming familiar with your inner landscape, knowing when you're operating from fear, noticing when you're manipulating, appeasing, shrinking. Not to shame yourself, but to catch the moment you leave yourself behind. Because every time you abandon your authenticity to maintain connection, you reinforce the belief that the real you is not enough. But here's the shift. The real you is not only enough, it's the only version of you anyone can actually bond with. Everything else is noise. Everything else fades. When people feel your groundedness, your stillness, your inner authority, they start showing up differently. Not because you demanded it, but because you've become a mirror. You show them what's possible, what's real, what they've been craving without knowing how to name it. Understanding who you can become is one thing, living it, another. And here's the part most skip. Becoming someone others fear to lose isn't about changing who you are. It's about shedding everything you're not. Not in theory, but through consistent, grounded action. These aren't dramatic reinventions. They're small, precise movements that rewire how you relate to yourself and the world. What follows are 10 practices, simple, direct, uncomfortable, that will shift the way you show up in ways people can't ignore. First, practice silence. Set aside 15 minutes every day to sit without stimulation. No phone, no music, no conversation, just you. At first, it'll feel pointless, then uncomfortable, then revealing. You'll begin to notice how much of your identity is built around reacting. Presence grows in stillness, not noise. Second, write your shadow. Take a blank page and let it speak. Let the anger come out, the envy, the bitterness, the part of you that you keep locked away. Don't fix it. Don't spiritualize it. Just let it exist. This isn't about healing, it's about truth-telling. Because the more honest you are with your darkness, the less power it has over you. Third, say no. Every day, once, even in a small way. Say no to something you'd usually accept just to keep the peace. Say no to a request that drains you. Say no to the version of you that keeps betraying your own boundaries. Start small, but be firm. That no will become your backbone. Fourth, clear your contacts. Go through your phone and remove 5 names you've outgrown. Not in anger, not in drama, just clarity. If someone doesn't see you, respect you, or add any real value to your inner world, let them go. Your energy is currency. Stop spending it on what bankrupts you. Fifth, speak one truth. Every day, say something you've been avoiding. To a friend, to a partner, to yourself. It can be kind, it can be quiet, but it must be real. These small acts of truth-telling start to dissolve the mask, and you begin to breathe again. Sixth, connect with your body. Whether through movement, stillness, or breath, give attention to what your body is holding. Trauma isn't just a memory, son, it's a sensation. You can't think your way to healing. You have to feel it, release it, move with it. Seventh, create a journal of emotional weather. Not what happened, but how it landed in your system. Did your chest tighten? Did you shut down? Did you feel heat, shame, emptiness? Track your responses. Over time, patterns will emerge, and awareness always precedes transformation. Eighth, ask yourself this daily: who am I without this role? Without the identity you've clung to for survival? The pleaser, the fixer, the overachiever. Sit with the question, even if no answer comes. That silence is where your real self starts to emerge. Ninth, mirror work. Look at yourself every morning, not to check your face, to witness your being, without judgment, without self-improvement, just presence. Most people go years without truly seeing themselves. Break that cycle. 10th, choose one act per day that aligns with your authenticity, not your fear. Send the message, say the thing, walk away, set the boundary, make the request. These aren't grand gestures. They're small, steady shifts that change the way the world responds to you, because you've changed the way you respond to yourself. The final truth is simple, but hard to live. You don't become someone others fear to lose by proving your worth. You become that person by embodying your truth, even when it costs you connection. Especially then. The key is this: hold your center. No matter who walks in or out, no matter who approves or misunderstands. The moment you stop needing others to confirm your value, you become unforgettable. Because confidence built on validation is fragile. But confidence built on self-intimacy, that's unshakable. Here's your final, most powerful practice. Make decisions as the version of you who knows they're already enough. Not someday, not when you're healed, now. Speak like that person. Set boundaries like that person. Show up, walk away, love, create from that place. Over time, you'll stop chasing connection and start attracting people who feel you before you even speak. If these words feel like yours, subscribe to the channel. Let this message reach the ones who are ready to live without the mask. And join our Telegram, where we say what most won't, and build a space for those who are done with pretending. If you saw yourself in this video, write in the comments, "I'm done running from my pain." Let's see how many of us are finally ready for truth. Let's build something real together.